And now for my next number, I'd like to return to the classic.
Naughty Dog's first entry into the Jak and Daxter franchise was both a commercial and critical success, so for the sequel they aimed for something bigger and better, but not in the way that you'd expect. Because this entry strayed so far from the initial game, it's easy to see why some platforming fans were put off. This game tries to do a lot, both with its story and its gameplay, and it's really clear that the developers were really trying to expand on what the platformer genre could be. Instead of building directly on the structure of the first game and implementing more elaborate platforming challenges and mechanics, they decided to go with the game concept of, what if Grand Theft Auto was a platformer? Which sounds really weird when you say it like that, but it kind of worked. Kind of. Jak 2, also known as Jak 2 Renegade in New Zealand and other PAL regions, was released in 2003 for the PlayStation 2. Like the first game, it was re-released in 2012 as part of the HD collection for the PlayStation 3. And again, just like for the first game, we will be playing through the PS4 emulated version for this retrospective, with mixed results, as Jak 2 has some significant emulation errors both visually and performance-wise. While Jak 2 is still considered a part of the platforming genre, it also leans heavily into the third-person shooter genre. Jak 2 begins immediately after the first game's 100% ending, making the completionist ending the canon ending. Looking back on that ending, it's clear that Naughty Dog did not have this trilogy completely planned out from the beginning. Now, just because I think the story of this game was not planned in advance doesn't mean that I think it's bad. It's actually quite the opposite, as I think this game has the strongest narrative in the series.
Today's the big day, Jak. I hope you are prepared for whatever happens.
I think I figured out most of this machine. It interacts somehow with that large precursor ring. I just hope we didn't break anything moving it here to the lab.
Easy for you to say. We did all the heavy lifting.
Daxter, don't touch anything! Though the precursors vanished long ago, the artifacts they left behind can still do great harm.
Or great good, if you figure out how to use them.
I've had some experience with such things. I know you can make it work.
Looks like Jak still got the mojo.
Interesting. It appears to be reading out some preset coordinates.
Wow, look at that.
Finally, the last rift gate has been opened.
What are those things?
So this is how it happened.
You cannot hide from me, boy.
Do something, Jak!
What's this do? Or that? How about this one? Anybody press all the buttons?
What was that thing?
Hang on, everyone!
I want on this thing!
Find yourself, Jak!
Okay, I swear, that's the last time I ever touch any stupid precursor crap!
There he is. Move in. Step away from the animal.
Ah!
Forget the rat. The Baron wants him. We've been waiting for you.
Don't worry, Jak. I'll save you before you know it.
The events of the spin-off game Daxter take place during the gap of the 2 years between the main games. It was designed specifically for the PlayStation Portable and follows Daxter's exploits while Jak is locked up in jail. While continuing his search for Jak, Daxter takes a job as an exterminator to combat the growing number of metal bugs that have taken up residence in the city. It wasn't created by Naughty Dog, rather the development team Ready at Dawn, who you may already be familiar with as the creators of the excellent werewolf video game known as The Order 1886. In any case, I won't be playing through this game for this retrospective, but I did think it was worth mentioning in passing because it does make an effort to fit into the canon.
Dark eco injection cycle complete. Bio readings nominal and unchanged.
Nothing. I was informed that this one might be different.
He is surprisingly resistant to your experiments, Baron Praxis. I fear the Dark Warrior program has failed.
You should at least be dead with all the dark eco I pumped into you.
What now? Metalhead armies are pressing their attacks. Without a new weapon, my men cannot hold them off forever.
I will not be remembered as the man who lost this city to those vile creatures. Move forward with a final plan and finish off this thing tonight.
As you wish. I'll be back later.
Ding ding, 3rd floor. Body chains, roach food, torture devices. Hey buddy, you seen any heroes around here? Whoa! What'd they do to you? Jak, it's me, Daxter. That's a fine hello. I've been crawling around in this place, risking my tail, literally, to save you. I've been looking for you for 2 years. Say something, just this once.
I'm gonna kill Praxis!
Shh. Right now, we gotta get you out of here. Just let me figure out how to open the security locks for your chair so I can... Or, you can do it. Jak, easy now. Easy, buddy. It's your old pal Daxter, remember?
Daxter?
What the heck was that? Sheesh! Remind me not to piss you off. Come on, tall, dark, and gruesome. We're out of here. I brought you some new threads. Put them on.
The game begins with a tutorial, but rather than being a standalone level that doesn't really contribute anything to the narrative, this tutorial is actually Jak and Daxter's breakout from the Baron's prison. All of Jak's platforming abilities from the first game are carried over into the second. He can punch and spin attack, in addition to jumping, double jumping, high jumping, and roll jumping. And just like in the first game, Jak controls wonderfully, with animations that flow smoothly and excellent control while in midair. Even in the beginning stages of the game's tutorial, there are multiple opportunities to die by falling into bottomless pits or being ambushed by enemies. This game's difficulty ramps up rather quickly after the beginning. The game is filled with locations where you can find precursor orbs, but this time around they are much harder to come by. The number of them that can be found is relatively low, and they are difficult to locate. They are required in order to unlock secrets within the secrets menus, such as removing Jak's goatee, unlocking concept art, infinite ammo, which is only available after you beat the game, and hero mode. You will be able to keep all of your equipment and play through the game once more in hero mode, but the difficulty level will be increased. Platforming through the stage, we find an open door that drops us down into the dirty and dungy street below.
Hello, strangers. My name is Core. May I help?
You look like a reasonably smart man. I want information. Where the hell am I?
Sorry. He's new to the whole conversation thing.
Well, my angry young friend, you are a guest of His Majesty Baron Praxis, the ruler of glorious Haven City.
I was just a guest in the good Baron's prison.
Inside a cell or inside the city, walls surround us both. We are all his prisoners. Talk about being in the wrong place at the wrong time. I'd move on if I were you.
By order of His Eminence, the Grand Protector of Haven City, Baron Praxis, everyone in this section is hereby under arrest for suspicion of harboring underground fugitives. Surrender and die!
Excuse me, sir. Don't you mean surrender or die?
Not in this city. Protect us from these guards, and I'll introduce you to someone who can help you.
During this portion, the game will transform us into Dark Jak automatically. Dark Jak's primary focus is on close combat, and he gains both strength and speed as a result. Despite the fact that this form is advertised as the most significant new addition to the game, you don't really make that much use of it. It simply does not keep up with the difficulty curve of the game, and it will frequently get you killed more quickly. This is mostly due to the fact that you will be facing off against a large number of ranged opponents, and Dark Jak just isn't very effective at taking out enemies at range. Additionally, he is difficult to keep under control. He launches forward and slides along the ground rapidly, making it really easy to fall off platforms and slide into enemy fire. Before you are able to transform, you must first fill up the Dark Eco meter. Dark Eco can be found in crates and dropped from defeated enemies. However, since it takes a while to fill up, you won't be able to transform very much. Because of all these factors, I almost never utilise Dark Jak. And to be honest, I'd often forget that transforming was even an option.
That was cool! Do it again.
Something's happening to me. Something he did. I can't control it.
Very impressive.
You okay, Jak?
What you just did was very brave. This child is important.
This kid? He looks kind of scruffy.
You are in a restricted zone. Move along.
Thank you for your help, but I must get this boy to safety.
Hey! What about us?
There is an underground group waging war against Baron Praxis. Its leader, the Shadow, could use fighters like you. Go to the slums, find a dead-end alley near the city wall. Ask for Torn. He can help you.
Following the confrontation, we have been tasked with locating the underground stronghold. It is at this point in the game that we are shown one of the gameplay elements that appears the most frequently: driving. Yay. And while it's not terrible, I wouldn't exactly call it fantastic either. There are several kinds of vehicles, but they all operate according to the same control scheme, despite the fact that their speeds and how they handle are all a little different. Because of their smaller size, the smaller vehicles are able to make sharper turns and gain more speed, but they can only take a small amount of damage before they explode. The larger vehicles, on the other hand, have the opposite characteristics, moving more slowly and turning more broadly, but they are able to withstand significantly more abuse. There are also a couple of vehicles used by the Crimson Guard that can be stolen. These vehicles have mounted guns that have an infinite supply of ammo, though they are rarely used because they aren't found unmanned very often, and if you steal them you get hunted down by the guards, and they aren't really worth the trouble. It is possible to fly high or low in order to avoid pedestrians. Because there is always a lot of traffic and colliding into other vehicles is the primary cause of receiving damage, you want to keep your vehicle close to the ground most of the time. The Crimson Guards don't care about the citizens of Haven City at all. They're more like a gang than a police force. They don't care if you run over and steal from innocent bystanders, but if you do so with the guards, then you better watch out. You'll be hunted down by them. It's shoot to kill with these guys.
Surrender and die.
Even though this feature isn't all that bad, the guards aren't very good at hitting you when you're on your vehicle. It still has the potential to be really frustrating, particularly when you're in the middle of a mission. It just seems like things get out of hand much too quickly and way too often. It is possible to sneak by the security personnel without raising their suspicions, but all it takes is the slightest contact with one of them for them to start chasing you. Because of this, travelling between missions is far more stressful than it ought to be. After completing a challenging job, you may just want some peace and quiet to collect your thoughts, but this game doesn't actually provide that for you. If you want to reach anywhere within a decent amount of time, you have to remain on edge and keep an eye out for the guards at all times. The underground hideout is in the slum area of the city, and we will be visiting this area a lot throughout our playthrough. Here is where our first encounter with Torn, a former member of the Crimson Guard, takes place. I'm pretty sure that's not a spoiler.
Stop it! You're spoiling it! You're spoiling everything!
If it is, I'm sorry.
We're looking for a guy named Torn. Core sent us. Are you Torn?
Maybe this guy's a new, like you used to be.
New faces make me nervous. Word is you're out to join the fight for the city. You know, picking the wrong side could be unhealthy.
We want to see the Shadow.
Not likely. If you want to join something, why don't you and your pet go join the circus? Unless you've got the fur for a really tough task. Steal the Baron's banner from the top of the ruined tower and bring it back to me. Then, maybe we'll talk.
In order to complete this assignment, we will need to scale the side of a towering structure and recover the flag. It's a good platforming challenge that focuses your attention on the game's platforming mechanics and helps you get better at them. When we make it to the peak, Jak and Daxter begin to perform their signature victory dance, but it is cut short when the tower begins to crumble. This little cutscene appears to be a means for the developers to tell the player that Jak 2 will be considerably different from the game that came before it.
Yeah, I guess you guys are in.
After completing the assignment that Torn gave us, we have to make our way back to the hideout, which is one of the game's biggest weaknesses. Backtracking. How fun. You get the impression just by looking at the map that there is going to be a big open world with a lot to do, and while the city's size and how seamlessly you can move through it is quite impressive, especially for the time, there isn't a whole lot to do in the city itself. The game is divided into two gameplay sections. One section involves you participating in story missions, with many of the missions taking place in designated areas both within and outside of the city. The other section is the free roaming aspect, which occurs between missions and allows you to explore previously visited areas as well as the city itself. Not all regions of the city are accessible at the start of the game. You will need specific security passes to enter certain areas of the city. These passes are gained as you progress through the main story, thus exploring is limited at first. When you journey through the city, you will come across these screens. When you interact with them, they will give you a very short side mission to accomplish in order to collect precursor orbs. There are several varieties. Most of them will assign you a time limit to locate an orb. You only get a fleeting glimpse of where the orb is. These can be challenging, but they're a lot of fun and my favourite form of side mission. Then there are tasks that require you to collect a particular number of items within a given amount of time. It's not that interesting, but it's different. Not that different. Then there is the ring challenge, which requires you to drive through all of the rings in a set amount of time. During these missions, traffic is your worst enemy, and you'll find your Zuma crashing repeatedly. I despise these side quests, but luckily they are all completely optional. And that about covers it when it comes to the side missions you can do within the city. You are free to walk or drive around the area as much as you desire, but the NPC civilians will not engage with you in any meaningful way. You have the ability to kill them, but apart from the fact that they will begin to flee from you, nothing else happens. It is possible to steal their vehicles without them making an attempt to stop you. They essentially just act like zombies that have been copy and pasted all around the city. They have no life and no discernible personalities at all. Their presence certainly contributes to the impression that the city is densely crowded and bustling with activity, but apart from that, they do nothing but get in the way. Because the layout of the city itself is so distinctive, it's a little bit of a shame that Haven City doesn't have nearly as many things to do as you would hope. It's comprised of a number of distinct districts, each of which performs a unique function in the city's infrastructure. For example, the agriculture district, which is where all the crops are grown. Then there is the commercial area for trade, and they even have a port. It is obvious that a great deal of planning and consideration went into the structure of the metropolis. There just isn't much to do, and that really sucks.
Woo! Being a big hero sure makes you thirsty.
The Baron turned off all water to the slums. He's willing to sacrifice innocent lives just to destroy the underground. I shouldn't be surprised. I've seen his evil before while serving in the Crimson Guard. That's why I quit.
See, I told you it wasn't a spoiler.
You were a Crimson Guard? Well, that explains your charming sense of humor.
My friend in the Guard tells me the valve to turn the water back on is located outside the city, at the pumping station.
Outside the city? What about the security walls?
What about the metalheads? It ain't a petting zoo out there. Peeps be getting deep-sixed.
Find the large drain pipe in the north wall. It'll take you outside the city to the pumping station. Get to the main valve and open it. If you survive, the slums will be indebted to you. If not, maybe we'll have a touching moment of silence in your honor.
I'd like to give him a touching moment.
To get to the pump station, you have to pass through this pretty rundown portion of the city. Without a Zuma, this part of the city can be a real hassle to navigate. In this game, Jak can still swim, but it's extremely slow. Fortunately, we won't have to be doing much swimming in this game. Yay. We arrive at a hidden loading screen after passing through the external entrance. Jak 2 does an excellent job of concealing its loading. It truly makes travelling around the world feel seamless. At the pumping station we encounter our first metalhead.
Why are you the way that you are?
Gone are the days of beating on the goofy lurker enemies, now it's onto the edgier metalheads, because this game is dark.
Darkness.
Darkness, darkness,
Darkness, darkness.
darkness, darkness.
The metalheads are an alien race of biomechanoid life forms. All metalheads have a metallic exoskeleton as well as a skull gem lodged in the head, chest or back, which drops when slain. Not too much of the metalheads' backstory is known, but it is revealed that the precursors waged war against the metalheads and their unnamed dark leader.
Darkness.
They were able to annihilate the precursor civilization and dominate the universe unopposed for eons. By collecting enough skull gems, we will obtain more powers for Dark Jak by bringing them to the precursor statue. Metalheads aren't the only foes in the game. Different wildlife will attack you as well. At the moment, we only have our basic punch and spin moves to deal with them, but that will change very soon.
Ah, the Valve. Allow me. Don't say it. Don't even chuckle. Next time, you turn the valves.
This game's cutscenes are fantastic. This is where Naughty Dog really began to show off their cinematic storytelling abilities. Both the animation and the models have vastly improved from the first game. Although this game has a darker tone, it is far from depressing. The comedic moments and snappy dialogue keep a wonderful balance. Getting through a challenging section and being rewarded with a cutscene is well worth it because the characters and story are both incredibly engaging.
The slum's water is back on. I'd love to see the heads roll when the Baron finds out.
Yeah, I'm sure he's losing lots of sleep over this armpit of the city. We've done what you've asked. Now when do we see the shadow?
When I say so. If I say so. But before I even think about it, I want you to take care of an ammo dump we've ID'd in the fortress. Lots of Crimson Guards, constant patrols. We know it's vulnerable, and the underground needs you to blow up all the ammo you find inside. Get all of it, and we'll deal a body blow to the Baron.
You're sending us in, tough guy. So what's with this we'll deal a body blow stuff?
That's fine. I want the Baron to know that it's me who's hurting him.
Speaking of difficult sections, this next part is where the difficulty really does start to ramp up. Not a lot, but enough for you to realise that this isn't going to be as much of a breeze as the first game was. The strange camera angles cause the majority of difficulty in this section. When the camera is that far back, it's difficult to assess the depth of the jumps. Overall, the camera is hit or miss. It can be manually changed, but it's also semi-fixed in some parts, making it a little unruly. I believe the camera was the same in the first game, but it was less noticeable because the levels were much more open.
These barrels are the latest shipment of eco. The Baron says take them and get out.
While the first few missions appear to be meandering, they allow the game to set up the major players, such as the Baron, who has proven to be a bit of a prick thus far. When the metalheads attacked a section of the shield wall, the Baron was forced to abandon that area of the city, which is now known as Dead Town. He then struck a deal with the metalhead leader, arranging a trade of regular shipments of eco to the metalheads, in exchange for them attacking the city just enough to sustain his illegitimate position as ruler. That is why we see guards giving eco to the metalheads. Baiting the tank to shoot the explosives in the room, we make it out of the building just in time.
This place has too much excitement. We need to move back to the country.
We report to Torn of what we witnessed, and then we are entrusted with delivering a package to a different part of the town. We can enter the port thanks to the security pass we obtained. This is where we meet the series' most repulsive character ever. Maybe in all of gaming. He's that gross.
I wrote a blog post a while ago about why I f***ing hate video games, because this is what it does. It appeals to like the male fantasy.
Your crew? Well, we shook the heat, and your shipment's in primo condition.
That's good, eh? Because a cargo of rare eco ore is worth more than 10 of your lives. And of course, I'd be forced to collect slowly. The underground will take anyone with a pulse these days. And what we have here, the Shadow's mascot of the month. Ooh, soft. Zig, this fur would go well with my silk suits, eh?
Listen, tons of fun. Anyone can see that you, and I have the real juice in this burg. We're both players, right? We're both looking for a piece of the action, right? I think we can do business, right?
We did you a favor. Now it's your turn. Why is the Baron giving eco to metalheads?
Questions like that could get a person killed, eh? Zig, pay El Capitan here and his friend a bonus. If you want to see what that baby can do, try the gun course outside. Show me some skill with that hardware, and I'll hire you for a job or two, eh?
We now have our first firearm, the Scatter Shot. This gun is powered by red eco and fires with a deafening boom. It's like a really short-range shotgun, but instead of shooting your adversaries with a cluster of small pellets, you hit them with a strong force wave of red eco. The scatter shot is excellent for close-range crowd management and complements Jak's melee strikes. Unfortunately, it has a relatively low range, and even while the force of the shots can push foes back, you can still become overrun, especially if your opponent gets a jump on you. The gun can hold 50 rounds by default. However, this will be increased to 100 as you go through the game. It is incredibly simple to use firearms. Just press R1 to shoot the gun. There is no need to reload in this game, so you can go through your full ammo supply without stopping. To equip a gun, you just use the D-pad that correlates with the gun that you want to use. Guns can be fired while standing still, running, or even while driving. However, while Jak is occupied steering the vehicle, it is up to Daxter to aim the weapon. And his aim is pretty shit. Aiming is a bit hit and miss. Quite literally. The game employs an auto-aim function that works well when foes are near to Jak, but becomes highly troublesome when attempting to aim at enemies from a distance. It tries its hardest to aim at what it believes you want to fire at, but it doesn't always work. I think this game might have benefited from a first-person aiming option like it did in the original game. It's surprising that they chose to remove this feature rather than expand on it, because honestly, if that feature should have been in any of the Jak games, it should have been in this one. Each gun type in the game has a gun course challenge that can be completed. If you can beat the high score, you'll get some precursor orbs. We return to the pumping station armed with our new weapon to assist Zig in exterminating some large metalheads with his peacemaker. When we return to levels, new pathways are generally opened up, so we're technically going through the same level, just in a different way. It's an extremely creative approach for the creators to duplicate locales and assets without the player getting bored. We must defend Zig while he charges his peacemaker. You'll have to restart if he loses all of his health. The enemy attacks in short waves, making them very easy to eliminate before they reach Zig. When we have vanquished all of the metalheads, Zig will collect the trophies and we will head to Crew's Bar to discover more about the Baron's ties to the metalheads.
All I know is that the Baron cut a desperate deal with the metalhead leader. Metalheads need eco, so the Baron supplies them with regular shipments. In return, the Metalheads agree to attack the city just enough to satisfy the Baron's continued rule.
Yeah, but how long can that deal last?
Well, the Baron is running short on eco, eh? And the Metalheads are short on patience. Baron Praxis needs this wall to keep in power. Otherwise, the city would put the true ruler on the throne, wherever that little brat is.
Daxter and I will clear your sewers. And we haven't forgotten about that weapons upgrade you promised in return.
Bloodsuckers.
Now we have even more reason to take out the Baron. Besides him inflicting personal pain on Jak with Dark Eco, he is also putting Haven City in great danger. The city was founded as a monarchy under the House of Ma, with descendants of Ma passing down the throne from generation to generation. The House of Ma was eventually deposed by the city's martial dictatorship, which was formed by the tyrant Baron Praxis. Even though the Baron should be ousted, I don't believe that restoring a small child as the city's ruler will help the situation. Just because the kid is supposed to inherit the throne doesn't mean he's going to be any better than the Baron. I know the game doesn't really expect a player to think too hard about this, as it's just trying to be a bit more of a motivation. I know when I was a kid I didn't really think about it, but it's just one of those things that isn't as great of an idea as you might first think. After we destroy all the turrets in the sewers, Crew will give us our second weapon, the Blaster. This rifle has a long laser sight and is fueled by yellow eco. It's the best all-around gun, capable of taking out enemies both close up and at a distance. However, the gun suffers the most from the game's auto-aiming feature. It won't always shoot at what you want, causing Jak to take unnecessary damage. Jak will perform a quick fire burst if you fire while spinning, which is fantastic if you're getting swamped. You can also punch one enemy while firing at another for a lethal combo. This is without a doubt my go-to weapon. It has plenty of ammo and is effective in practically every situation.
I have a proposition for you, Jak. Racing is the biggest sport in the city. Errol is the undisputed grand champion. He's crazy and dangerous on the track. My kind of guy. Only a fool would dare race against him, eh? And that's where you two come in. A client of mine is looking for a fast driver for her racing team. Here's a security pass to get you into the stadium section. And your contract with just a few trifles for me. I've already signed your name to save time.
The Ma Memorial Stadium is located in the Central Business District. Knife racing takes place here. And no, we won't be racing knives, as great as that sounds, but air races that kind of look like they have knives on the front of them. But first, we have to get to the stadium in time to be selected for the racing team. When we arrive at the garage, we are greeted by a familiar figure.
Hello? Crew said someone was looking for a race driver?
I'm busy right now. You must be Crew's new errand boys. Look, I don't mean to be rude. You did get here fast, but I'm not interested in any new drivers right now, and I've got work to do.
The audience can tell right away that this character is Kira. However, the game depicts the incident as if neither Jak nor Daxter recognize her voice or silhouette, which is kind of illogical. In reverse, it seems reasonable that Kira would not recognize Jak's voice because Jak never used to talk, and Daxter does not speak during this meeting. I completely get what they are going for, and it culminates in a really good reunion later on. But it's one of those things that you may love in the moment, but doesn't really make sense when you think about it later on. Anyway, Kira isn't looking for a new driver for her team, but she might consider us if we beat the jetboard challenge at the stadium. The jetboard is essentially a hoverboard and is an extremely enjoyable addition to the game. Not as fun as the flip-flop in my opinion, but still pretty good. The board is simple to use and speeds up Jak's mobility on the ground. Turning is a little slow, but you can jump off the board at any point, which is a terrific way to do a quick 180 turn. The jetboard can jump, high jump, and grind on rails. Tricks can also be performed, however they are mostly used for fun and to get points throughout this challenge. However, there is a technique where you can spin in the air and land correctly to gain speed. We only need to gain enough points within the time restriction to pass this challenge. The longer you can keep a trick going, the more points you gain. It works in a similar way to the Tony Hawk's games, where repeating the same tricks earns you fewer and fewer points. There are 3 tiers from bronze to gold that will reward you with orbs, similar to the shooting range challenges. One of the best aspects of the jetboard is the ability to travel over water in dark eco. This opens up new areas and levels and allows for the collection of more precursor orbs. We won't be able to take advantage of this improved mobility right away because we don't get to take the jetboard with us when we leave the stadium.
We beat the stadium challenge.
Great. People do get lucky. Listen, Don't you have someone to collect money from or beat up or something?
You don't like us, do you?
You work for that slimeball crew. What's not to like?
Looks like you've won a few races. Isn't it true the city champion gets to tour the palace?
Yeah, why?
Could you get me into the palace?
A friendly visit, I gather.
Yeah, I'm a real fan of the Baron.
Okay, I'll help you out if you stop bothering me. I saw an old maintenance elevator at the base of one of the palace support towers. That old lift might take you up to the palace if you can find a way to turn on the elevator's power.
We need to finish a couple more missions before we can enter the Baron's palace. Missions are dished out in sets, so you'll likely have 2 or 3 missions to do in any order. This does not mean that the game is non-linear, as the next set of missions cannot be unlocked until the previous set is completed. This help makes the game feel a bit more open without making the story a complete mess to follow.
Brilliant! I have absolutely no idea what's going on.
There's always context and follow-up as to what you're doing, and although some of the missions feel a bit fillery, you will always be rewarded with some funny character interactions or some new equipment. Torn assigns us the task of rescuing Finn, the operator of the Haven City power station and an underground informant. It's during these missions where the game really starts to ramp up in difficulty. There are metalhead eggs all over the place and we need to use the turrets in the level to smash them all, but there are also flying metalheads to contend with, which can be a real annoyance. The first person shooting controls aren't particularly good. They're quite sluggish and they're also inverted, which was the norm at the time, but now takes some getting used to 19 years later. There are multiple spots where you must destroy eggs with the turret, and if you die at any point in the level, you have to start from the very beginning, but only kind of. For some strange reason, the checkpoint resets you to the beginning of the level, yet your progression in destroying the eggs is saved. So you have to go back through the level just to get back to where you died. It's just an odd use of checkpoints, and it doesn't get any better from here. This game lacks checkpoints, which is where the majority of the game's difficulty spikes occur. Some levels in Jak 1 definitely had the issue of poorly placed checkpoints, but at least in that game the level design was more open, so there was always something else you could go for if you were having trouble, and many of the challenges were optional. However, this is not the case for Jak 2. All the missions must be completed in order to progress. Jak 2 expects a lot more from the player. It doesn't just want you to finish the objective, it wants you to finish it well. If the game assigns you a time limit, it will be strict. If the game wants you to defeat a bunch of enemies, it's going to throw a lot of them at you. If you have to do some platforming, it's going to be over bottomless pits. Jak's health is another significant aspect in the challenge. In the first game, Jak had a maximum of 4 hit points, which was more than plenty given the number of enemies to contend with. In this game, Jak has double that, with a total of 8 hit points, which seems reasonable given the massive increase in opponents, until you realise that it isn't actually 8 hit points, because with the exception of some of the smaller enemies, most enemies will take away 2 health. That means you have roughly the same amount of health as in the first game, but you'll be dealing with far more enemies. But you might be thinking, given that Jak has guns, opponents should be much easier to deal with. No. Some metalheads require numerous bullets to kill and have ranged attacks, making it very easy to be swarmed. The Crimson Guards have the accuracy of stormtroopers, but they can easily catch you off guard, especially when they spawn off screen. All of these factors combined have resulted in an incredibly hard game. But is it too hard? Well, difficulty is a very subjective thing, and if you had asked me as a kid if it was too difficult, I would have definitely said yes. I'm going to be honest with you guys. When I first played this game, I really did struggle with it. I would get stuck in certain sections for weeks and it kind of soured my experience. So I can fully understand why people might not like this game because of the difficulty. But now that I'm older and not as horrible at games as I once was, allegedly, I think this difficulty is about right. Jak 2 is a difficult game, but it is also a really rewarding game. When you successfully complete a mission that you are struggling with, you truly feel as if you have conquered that portion, giving you a sense of relief as well as accomplishment. Torn has sent us on another expedition to the pumping station to assist an underground ally Ashlyn.
Watching me take care of those metalheads was pretty exciting, wasn't it, Sugar?
Hey! Sweet stripes! Give me them digits so I can look you up sometime!
We'll party hard! Big city style!
Tell Torn Baron Praxis is planning something big. I think it has to do with that symbol.
What is it?
It's the seal of the House of Mar, the founder of Haven City. We're being sent out on suicide missions to locate artifacts from the time of his rule. If curiosity's worth dying for, you can ask the blind old soothsayer in the bazaar named Onin. She might know something about all this. Here's my bazaar access security pass.
Your name's Ashlyn, huh?
We're even now.
Wow! What a woman! Arrgh.
We'll learn a bit more about Ashlyn later on, but we need to go to the bazaar and find out more about the Seal of Mar. The bazaar is a really annoying place to travel through. You have to drive up these ramps and it's really hard to avoid traffic. Also, a lot of the area is inaccessible by vehicle, so it must be gone through on foot or jetboard.
If I had one!
We arrive at the hut where we meet Onin, an elderly soothsayer, and her translator Pekka, who is a mix between a parrot and a monkey, I think. It is here that we are tasked to find 3 artifacts to help us gain access to the Tomb of Mar, because of course we need 3, because this is a video game, and that is the law of video games. The Mountain Temple, also known as the Precursor Mountain Temple, houses all 3 artifacts. We get to the temple by going through the Garden District and using the warp portal. This level is very reminiscent of the first game, with precursor structures everywhere as well as more of a focus on platforming. At the start of Jak 2, the game plays out much like Jak 1, with a lot of platforming and a sprinkling of combat. However, as the game progresses and we gain access to weaponry, the game switches to more combat orientated missions. While I enjoy the combat, I prefer missions like these that strike a better balance between the 2 styles of gameplay. We must overcome 3 challenges in order to acquire all 3 artifacts. Fortunately, the game is a little more lenient in this section and we don't have to complete all 3 with only 1 life. They have these rhino metal heads that you must bait into attacking you before you can shoot them in the underbelly. I suppose they are a mini boss, but even that's stretching it a bit. They're more like a mini boss. At the end of one section, there is a little puzzle where you must hit the cubes in the right way in order to safely make it across the dark echo. This is probably one of the main reasons that we weren't given the jetboard right away, as it would make this section trivial. The hardest and my least favourite part of this mission is making it up this cliff. There are rocks constantly falling that need to be avoided, and because Jak gets pushed back after taking damage, it is really easy to get hit by the rock and then fall down. There are health packs that drop from crates, so there is at least that, but then it also makes you wonder why Crimson Guards place these crates here. After acquiring all 3 artifacts, we don't do anything with them for quite some time, so we return to the city where Vin manages to power up one of the elevators, allowing us to ascend to the Baron's palace. As we ride to the top of the elevator, we are greeted with a breathtaking view over Haven City. I love the fact that they spent the time to have a full view of the entire city. In the distance you can see the various districts, the strip mine, and even the Mountain Temple. It's a fantastic setting for one of the game's best platforming sections. It's all platforming with retractable terraces and swinging bars. It's a great breather before the upcoming boss battle as we make our way across to the throne room.
I've told you I will have more eco by week's end. We'll transport it directly to your nest, as promised.
A deal is of no value if you can't deliver, my dear Baron. I grow impatient with your puny gestures. Give me the agreed-upon eco soon, or the deal is off, and your precious city will pay the price.
He's toying with us! Let me lead an assault on the nest before it's too late! I can take him!
Patience, Commander. No one has ever penetrated the Metalhead nest, you know that. I've seen what comes of such foolish plans. No, strength is their weakness. We play helpless. We train them to eat from our hands. And then... Move forward with the plan! Tell Ashlyn to up her patrols. I want that tomb found.
But your daughter has not been agreeable.
I'll see to that problem, one way or another.
Ashlyn is the Baron's daughter?
And find that child! If you'd spent half as much time looking for the little brat as you spent flirting with that mechanic girl, we would have pinned his royal ass to a wall long ago.
As you wish. With enough persuasion, I'm sure our spy... What was that?
This is our first fight against the Baron. There are 3 phases to this fight, because of course there is. During the first phase, he will simply fire at you and you must avoid his shots. He is invincible until he needs to recharge his shield, at which point you can strike back. In phase 2, he will launch missiles at you. Then in phase 3, he will discharge these fiery tornado things, which are kinda hard to avoid due to their erratic movement. He'll also try to ram into you, which is a good time to counterattack. Once all of his health is depleted, he will fly away and we can escape from the palace unchallenged. Before being dispatched back to Dead Town to halt the metalheads from attacking the sacred site, we undertake some busy work for the underground. We are handed a new weapon to assist us in accomplishing this. Vulcan Fury. It is powered by Blue Echo and has an exceptionally fast fire rate, making it ideal for an all-out assault on a big group of foes. It's also great for taking out flying opponents that are difficult to shoot at. Its main disadvantage is how quickly it depletes ammo. Even with the ammo upgrade, which increases the capacity to 200 rounds, it still runs out quickly. If it weren't for the ammo shortage, this would be the weapon I'd carry all the time. Fighting our way through the hordes of metalheads, we make it up to the sacred site and we find out something that most players have probably already figured out.
Is that? No, it couldn't be. That's not...
It's Samos's hut.
But what? How? When? Where? Why?
We're in the future, Dax. This horrible place is our world.
After finding out this revelation, we return to the underground hideout where we finally get to meet the Shadow, who is, you guessed it, Samos, but younger. Jak and Daxter's reaction to seeing him is kind of dumb. They act as if this is the same Samos from the first game, despite the fact that they just recently discovered that they had travelled to the future, and he looks radically different. Anyway, Samos sends us to the forest to take out some metalheads, and it is here that we finally get the jetboard. It's odd that the jetboard is introduced early on, but you don't get to use it till now. When it comes to distributing equipment, the game does have a pacing issue. You get your first few guns very quickly, but the others come much later. I believe they decided that a lot of this gear, such as the jetboard, was too powerful for the earlier stages, as it provides you access to a lot of places. Remember the lurkers from the first game? Well, they have fallen on some really hard times, as now they are almost exclusively involved with the forced labour trade.
You mean the slave trade?
Yes. We'll be helping out a lurker named Bruta to free some of the lurkers. It's an interesting way to show how much has changed over time. The lurkers in the first game never really came across as big evil bad guys, but more of a workforce that just happened to be working for the villains. So it is believable that over the years that they would end up as slave labour, working in the dangerous mines around the city. In order to free them, we must track down the convoys that have them imprisoned and shoot them down. Then we just have to yell at them to get in the car.
Get in the car!
And take them back to an escape tunnel. While we were freeing the lurkers, the metalheads launched a surprise attack within the city walls. Fortunately, Ashlyn was nearby to assist us in repelling them. The metalheads are becoming more daring in their attacks, heading deeper and deeper into the city, putting the city's defences to the test. Because of everything going on in Haven, Samos, the one with the afro, asks us to accompany the small child to Kor, who promises to look after him. Because of the amulet around his neck, they believe this youngster is the city's long-lost heir. The Crimson Guard are also after him because of his ties to the Ma family, so we need to take out waves of guards while protecting the kid. We arrive at the power station where Kor awaits us.
Samos told us to bring the kid to you.
Thank you. I'll be sure to keep him good. Oh, sweet. Interesting. That insufferable mutt never liked anyone but the boy before.
I guess I'm just good with animals.
I hope we have enough eco to keep the metalheads at bay. During my travels in the deep wasteland, I saw some of the bigger ones. Awesome creatures.
We saw a big one coming out of a rift once. He was ugly!
I have some valuable information for you. The Baron is conducting an excavation at the dig. He is still looking for that ridiculous tomb. Frankly, I don't believe it exists, but you might as well go out there and disrupt his operation just in case. Knock down all the scaffolding at the site. That should set him back. Here is an air train pass to get you out there.
We can fly to the dig site using the pass we were given. We will use the jet board to grind on the rails and release the tethers that are holding up the drill. The guards in this area are really obnoxious. They are firing little bombs at you and are extremely accurate, even from across the room. God damn it. We can now access a new region of the sewer thanks to the jet board. Crew wants us to find a ruby key embedded in a Mars statue that was lost during a smuggling operation due to a flood. But before we can get there, we need to drain the sewer. This may appear to be a simple fetch quest at first, but the key will be crucial later on.
Whoa! Got it. Where would you be without me, eh, Dax?
Well, Jak, I probably wouldn't be 2 feet tall, fuzzy, and running around in a sewer without a pair of pants.
With all of the work we've been taking on around the city, we can finally return to the stadium and reunite with Kira.
We destroyed Crew's cargo.
Great. I'll send you a medal. Now, if you don't mind, I'm on a deadline, so
Are
scram.
you always this difficult?
Let me handle this, Jak. Listen, lady, we beat your stupid course, and we can outrace anybody in this city.
Wait, that voice.
Now, there's just 2 things you need to know. 1, we don't want to join your stinking race team. And 2, you just lost a date with Orange Lightning. Let's go, Jak.
Daxter, it is you!
Kira!
Oh, I never thought I'd be so glad to see your furry mug. And Jak, you look different.
It's been a tough ride.
The Baron pumped our boy here full of dark eco, and it did something to him. Now he's got super moves or something. And a few anger issues as well.
I've been looking for you guys forever. And planning a way to get us back home. Somehow that rift took us far into the future. I've calculated the time displacement, and I
found
think
your
I've got
father. Well, sort of.
Working with the Underground, fighting the Baron. But he's,
What?
You need to go see him. And I need to get to the Baron.
You could try to win the Class 1 Racing Championship. The winner of that big race always gets to meet the Baron in the palace. But you have to qualify by winning the lower class races. There's a Class 3 race starting soon. You can drive for my team. But Jak, we should think about getting out of here. I don't like this place, and some of the people are creepy.
Jak, my boy, I need that ruby key you found, eh? A special client has requested it.
Sorry about that, Crew. I must have forgotten.
Right.
Oh great, driving. My favorite. Fortunately, the knife's controls are quite robust. You can accelerate, brake, bunny hop, and collect boosts along the tracks so you can boost. You can hold up to 3 boosts at a time, but you have to be really careful where you use them, as hitting a wall at too high of a speed will cause you to... And even just damaging your vehicle puts you at a significant disadvantage, as it will slow you down quite a bit. The more damaged your vehicle, the slower you will go. The other racers are not immune though, as they can take damage and even explode. The AI racers are quite aggressive, and they will push and shove you all over the track. The best tactic is to hang back at the start of the race and pass them by using the shortcut. The shortcut is quite risky, as if you don't jump and then boost at the right time, you will... There are 5 laps you need to complete, so there is plenty of time to catch up, and if you get far enough ahead, you won't need to take the risk of using the shortcut for every lap.
When is this city gonna provide some challenge, huh?
Hey, I watched your race today. You were pretty amazing out there.
Oh, thanks. Kira, this is Ashlyn. She's just...
Everyone knows who she is.
And Kira's,
A friend. A very good friend.
Thanks for helping out with that tanker, Jak. You saved a lot of lives. I'm not my father, you know. Ever since I was a little girl, I've looked down at the city streets from that ridiculous palace and imagined a better place. By the way, they're hunting for you. I'd watch out for Errol. I can't protect you from him.
Whoa, she's a Betty. And she likes you, Jak. Not that I can account for her tastes. I bet you'd love to pin some medals on her chest, huh? What? What'd I say? What did you say, Jak?
You gotta love the drama of teenage romance. Now all of the main players have been set up. We need to win all of the races to gain access to the Baron's Palace. There is also the issue of locating Mars' tomb and gaining access to it before the Baron. Then there is Crew, who is definitely up to something, we're just not sure what quite yet. We need to do a few more missions to aid the Underground while also sticking it to the Baron, which is always nice. The Seal of Mar has been torn into multiple pieces. and we must find all of them in order to open a door in the mountain temple that will lead us to Mars' tomb. We have retrieved some of the pieces, but we still need to find a few more to complete it. And it's in this collection quest where we come across one of the most infamous missions in the entire series. And for those of you who have already played this game, know exactly which mission I am talking about. Remember Bruta, the lurker we helped out earlier? Well, he has a reward for us, and it's a piece of the Seal of Ma. Sounds great, and all we need to do is pick it up, and then it begins. This mission is the most frustrating, out of the blue, difficulty spike, rage-inducing moment in the game. Crimson Guards will descend upon you, and there is just way too many for you to fight off. If you try to fight them off, you will die over and over and over again. What you need to do is jump on the jet point and navigate your way through the army of guards to the other side of the district. It's really difficult to control the board because of the uneven terrain and the fact that you're being shot at the entire time. Also, hitting a guard will slow you down enough that the other guards will be able to catch up and start attacking you. But if it's so hard to travel along the wooden platforms, why not just travel along the water? Which would be an excellent idea if it wasn't for the fact that just touching the surface of the water is an instant death. This is the worst mission in the game. It comes out of nowhere and is extremely frustrating. Years ago, when I played this game for the first time, this was the mission that stopped me from playing the game for weeks. I just couldn't get past it, and like I said before, all missions are mandatory. There is no way to skip any of the missions. Even playing this again for the retrospective, I had a lot of trouble with this section. We finally make it across, and now we only need one more piece in order to complete the Seal of Ma. We can get the final piece from Onan by playing this short mini game where you just have to press the correct buttons before they fall off screen. It's pretty easy, but I don't really get what it has to do with Jak showing his brains, as it isn't really a logic puzzle. It's more just testing your reaction time, but I guess it's fine. Better than that other fucking mission.
Behold, the Seal of Ma is now complete. Onan says the 3 artifacts you retrieved from the mountain temple are relics from an ancient light tower. Old songs tell how this light tower once shined down on the actual site of Mars' tomb. I sing one of these songs for you. From the mists of time, Mars' light would shine.
Whoa there, Iron Logs. Just tell us what we need to do.
Cretins with no taste, huh? Puh. You must take the 3 artifacts to Mars Gate. Only then will the light tower rise and reveal the tomb.
Returning to the mountain temple, the seal is used to open the door, which really makes you wonder why they couldn't have just used a zoomer or something to fly over it.
Stop talking about it.
Jak and Daxter use the artifacts collected from the temple to power up the light tower, revealing the location of the Tomb of Ma, located just south of the Baron's palace.
You did it, Jak. You actually found Mars' tomb.
Great. Now what? We send this poor kid into a meat grinder?
This is the day I've long awaited, to finally hold the fabled precursor stone in my hands.
You must be cautious, child. The tests of manhood are sure to be fraught with peril, and Mars Air must face them alone.
It's okay, kid. You can do it. It's just a deep, pitch black, sure to be filled to the brim with painful death old tomb. I wouldn't go in there.
Welcome, heir of Mar. Finally, the Chosen One stands before me. Enter and prove yourself worthy to claim the ancient birthright. No. This child is too young to face the tests.
What? No! Do something, Jak!
Jak, remember the sure to be filled to the brim with painful death part?
Great tree limbs! He's going to face the tests.
No, he's gone to his death.
Freeze!
The Tomb of Ma is said to be the final resting place of Haven City's legendary founder Ma, and also the location of the last precursor stone. Baron Praxis has spent many years searching for the Tomb of Ma in order to acquire access to the stone, which he believes can be used to destroy the metalheads. To gain access to the stone, we must pass 2 tests of manhood. The first test will lead us through a series of chambers, each with a unique set of challenges. Memory games, for example, will require you to hit the correct bugs. By diving down at the correct time, you can swim through the electrified water, a platforming challenge in which you must jump on the indicated tiles, followed by another memory matching game in which you must match the sounds. Passing the test will take you to a button that will activate a laser. In order to open the door, we will need to activate both lasers, which requires us to complete the second test. This section contains one of the game's best platforming sections. To complete the challenge, you must make your way across the platforms, timing your jumps and swinging accurately. This segment is a welcome diversion from the combat and vehicle missions we've been completing up to this point. It makes me wish that the game had more sections like this. While I enjoy the other gameplay features, the platforming is by far the best, thanks to the excellent jumping mechanics and level design. After you get through the first enormous room, Daxter will try to lift a large rock that is obscuring your path, but this will trigger the boulder to roll after him. This section is quite similar to the Stampede levels in Crash Bandicoot. You must rely on quick reflexes and memorization. The kill plane in this phase is really low, so you look like you die even before Daxter begins to fall. This may seem to be a terrible thing at first, but it is actually very useful, since you don't have to watch a long fall animation before you can try again, which you'll most likely have to do several times. Halfway through, the boulder will be replaced by a giant spider, seeking vengeance for all the tiny spiders we murdered on our trip here. Back with Jak, we still have more platforming to do before we can activate the second laser. We can then make our way back over to Daxter once the doors open.
Daxter, there you are. What happened to you?
I had a hairy experience, no thanks to you.
Welcome, young warrior. Many eons have passed since our hope burned so brightly. Today you have proven yourself worthy to receive Mar's legacy.
He's talking about me! Thanks, your holy statueness. This tomb wasn't so tough.
What you are about to receive contains grave power, and with it comes grave responsibility. Eons ago, the Precursors waged a terrible war with the Horoquan, those dark creatures you refer to as Metalheads. Driven by their dark leader, the Metalhead Legions destroyed our great civilization, and now they swarm the universe unopposed, looking for the last relics of our power. Ma tried to hide the Precursor Stone in this tomb to protect it from them. It is our last hope, and you were chosen to keep that hope alive.
I think you got me confused with someone else. I just want the stone.
It is time to fulfill your destiny. Behold.
Wow! Let's get the goods.
Fools! You brought me right to this stone. Your pitiful underground friends were no match for my guards above. Now I will gain the power I need to crush my enemies. And after claiming the stone, I'll begin with you.
Abomination. The Precursor Stone is not meant for you.
Because the Baron will be preoccupied with removing the stone from the monument throughout this boss fight, he will rely on his little robot minions for the first phase. We can't harm him with our own weapons, so we must return bombs that he throws at us. It can be difficult to aim them, but if you align the camera with the boss, a simple spin attack should launch them in the right direction. He will jump down and try to shoot you once you have taken off a third of his health. We can evade his onslaught by using the pillars and waiting for him to drop explosives again. He will have recovered the stone and is now using it to power his gun throughout the last stages of the fight. The laser is so strong that it begins to demolish the platform, but if we just keep using the pillars for cover and hitting him with his own bombs, we'll be able to take him out.
Nice try, but the stone is still mine. Don't worry, I will use the stone to its full potential. Soon all who oppose me will be destroyed by its power.
Despite Jak and Daxter's greatest attempts, Baron Practice escapes with the Precursor Stone. We return to the underground hideout where Torn admits that he was the one who informed the Crimson Guards about the tomb, due to the Baron threatening Ashlyn. To be honest, I had actually completely forgotten that Torn betrayed us. I assumed that the Crimson Guards had simply followed us in. I mean, the tomb's door was blown open by a massive ray of light. It's not like the Crimson Guards would be able to miss it. Our next objective is to infiltrate the Baron's fortress, where Jak was held captive for 2 years. Our friends are imprisoned there, and we must free them if we are to have a chance at reclaiming the stone. The fortress is yet another really hard section. We have some yellow Crimson Guards. Yellow Crimson Guards? Does that make sense? Yellow Crimson. Anyway, there are guards in yellow and they have way more health than the standard guards. You have to get through this really bullshit section where a bunch of them will be shooting at you. If you just try to take them out from the other side of the room, it will just waste your ammo because they respawn infinitely until you make it to the other side. There are turrets that you need to jump across without getting shot, flying enemies to take out. This place is a real marathon event with a bunch of ways to die, and no checkpoints.
The metal headmaster has saved the day. Oh, and I let Jak tag along too.
Oh, my little hero.
Samos, are you alright?
What took you so long? I added 6 rings to my trunk waiting for you two to get me out of here. Great yakkow horns! What happened to you, Jak?
Wait a minute! You're you! I mean, the other you! I mean, you know what I mean.
Yes, it appears I have an older time twin. Great grass grubs. I can't believe what a cranky old log I become.
2 Samos the Sages. Ah, Jak, they're multiplying!
We need to find the kid pronto. What are you talking about, old growth? The kid already opened the tomb. Our top priority should be to disrupt the Baron's forces. Oh, look who thinks they've sprouted. If you were half as wise as I am, you'd know that the proper course of action is to find the kid. Listen, you old dried-up leaf. I run this outfit, and I say we go after the Baron's forces.
Do we have to separate you two?
Vin's activating the warp gate. We need to get out of here now.
Despite both Samoses debating on whether we should go after the kid or Baron first, we don't really do either, at least not directly. While the game's story is incredibly engaging, it does have pacing issues. Many of the missions feel like busy work, they don't really contribute much to the main objective. We return to the sewers for another job for crew before heading to the Class 2 race. We have been assigned the responsibility of escorting a group back to the Mars statue, another escort mission. Yay. But honestly, it's not that horrible because the NPCs can fight back. The lack of checkpoints is once again the most difficult aspect of this mission. When we return to the statue, they end up destroying it in order to retrieve the Heart of Ma, which was hidden inside. What crew intends to do with these artifacts is unknown, but his other lackey Sig is growing increasingly concerned. Even though crew is dodgy as hell, he does keep his promise and rewards us with a new weapon mod, the Peacemaker, the same gun that Sig uses, and it's shit. Well, not really, it just has very limited utility due to its extremely low ammo capacity. It can be charged up to release electrical dark ecosphere. It's slow to charge but does a ton of damage and can hit multiple enemies at once. It is more effective at long range due to the slight auto-seeking effect of the bolt, making it even possible to fire the weapon without facing the intended target. It's great for taking out chunks of health from certain bosses, but other than that it just isn't worth using over any of the other guns. The Class 2 race is about to begin, so we head over to the stadium to get ready for the race.
Well, if it isn't the Dark Eco Freak.
Where's Kira?
Don't worry, I'm keeping a close eye on her. You're the talk of the town, Jak. You give the people hope. How pathetic. I would have enjoyed killing you in prison. But now, it'll be so much more fun to take you on the track, in front of the entire city. I can hear the roar of the crowd now, as everyone sees their hope die.
It's good to have you back, Daddy.
Yes, it's nice to be free again.
You know, Kira loves a winner. Someday she'll be my mechanic.
Stay away from her.
Errol's the best racer I've ever seen.
He's not what you think.
And you're a good judge of character? Ha! Look at you. People say you get angry and change. Besides, the Jak I knew wouldn't be working for a guy like Crew.
I need Crew's connections to fight the Baron. Without my... You know what? Do it your way, and I'll do it mine. Just don't come crying to me when the walls fall down.
Jack, buddy? Where you going there, pal? Jack? Jack?
Attention all drivers. The Class 2 races will begin soon.
Now what are we gonna do?
You'll have to drive for the team, Daxter. We need this win to qualify for the final championship.
How hard can it be? Just hold on tight and point the thingy where I want it to go, right? And then there's the other thingy that makes it go fast. Fast is good. I can do this. I'm ready to race.
Driving as Daxter is very different from driving as Jak. The controls are the same, but the physics are not. He's much lighter than Jak, making tight bends much more difficult because he can't lean as far into the corners. The advantage of this lack of weight is that if you contact the side of the track, you're more likely to ride up the wall rather than sustaining damage by crashing into it. The course is different from the first one, in that it has more spots to fall and dips in it. There is still an improvised shortcut you can take, at your own risk. Completing 5 laps in first place will qualify the team for the Class 3 race.
Now there's a handsome winner.
You did it, Daxter. You helped us qualify for the big race.
Did you ever doubt? I backseat drive for Jak all the time. Hey, when do I get the winner's big kiss?
Maybe later, if you're a good boy.
Hey there. We showed those Class 2 losers a thing or two, huh?
I saw. You drifted a little high in the turns a few times, but you hung in there. I'm proud of you, Dax.
Really?
Yeah, you did great.
No, we did great. Right, partner?
Jak and Kira still haven't made up, and Errol's mouthing off isn't helping. We accept his challenge to a race. We must fly through all of the rings, which also act as boosts, in order to beat him to the stadium. He's not too difficult to defeat, as he seems to struggle quite a bit on the corners. The traffic is the biggest obstacle during this race, as usual.
Don't get too cocky, outlaw. Next time we race for keeps, and your head will be my trophy!
Blow it out your ear! You were bottle-fed, weren't you?
After all the big dick energy, we can finally do something constructive. By helping the young Samus with gaining his sagely power, a magical seed can be found in the abandoned hut. Using this Titan suit, we must make our way up through the ruins to retrieve it. Why we have to use the Titan suit when we had no problem getting up here before?
Stop talking about it.
The suit is not that fun to control. It has a really bad melee attack that is slow and clunky to use and has no ranged attacks, meaning you have to jump out of the suit and take out enemies if you want to shoot them. The suit just doesn't have enough health to be able to take that much damage, so you can't just walk up to an enemy and punch them as you'll quickly run out of health. You can also lift objects and throw them, but it's not really used much. The jump is quite good as it has a lot of height to it, but other than that, not a fan. Also, the leg keeps freaking out. The suit is used in a couple of other missions, such as a mission we are sent on by Core to sabotage a main control tower to interrupt the Baron's eco supply. Grabbing the seed from the hut, we bring it to Onan, who prepares it before we bring it to the young Samus in the forest. So it was actually Jak and Daxter who were responsible for making Samus a full-blown sage. Of course we get attacked while we are there and must protect Samus. This is one of the few places where Dark Jak was actually useful. One of the upgrades that you get for Dark Jak is invincibility, which is a great way to give yourself a little bit of breathing room when you're being swarmed by enemies.
I'll show you guys what I've been working on if you promise not to laugh.
Ooh, I love surprises, and I love to laugh. Show me, show me.
I've been building a replica of our crashed rift riding machine from old artifacts.
That's my girl.
But I'm still missing 2 pieces.
Figures.
Vince says I need an artifact called the Time Map and an old energy gem history books called the Heart of Mar. And I've looked in every book on precursor history I can find, but the rift ring seems to have vanished.
You did all this? I mean, that's useful.
Oh, will you two stop moping around and make up already?
I've seen the Heart of Mar. Crew has it. We'll get those 2 artifacts, Kira.
Attention all drivers. The Class 1 championship race is about to begin.
Well, here goes. The race of my life.
Jak, I just wanted you to know, well, you're the best racer I've ever seen.
Hey, what about me? I helped get us here.
Do you want to drive?
Against that crazy loon arrow? No way! You got the handlebars, brother. And you'd better keep us alive or I will never speak to you again. Obviously.
Leave him in the dust, Jak.
Crew has what we need in order to return home, but before we can confront him about it, we must win the Class 3 race. This race is by far the most difficult. We are racing against Errol this time around, and he will make use of every shortcut you can. He isn't invincible. It is actually possible that Errol can be destroyed during the race, but it is rare. Like the other races, we must complete 5 laps while finishing first.
Thank you very much. Mwah. I love my public.
A brave man of the people. And who is this worthy opponent? In my world, good men are bought or broken. So which is it?
Surprise.
What?
Just a little closer. We need to talk.
Fool! Don't you get it? It's over, Jak. All the heroes died long ago. Only survival remains, by whatever means. This city is mine. These lives are mine. This war is mine. And in war, people die. Kill them. Look out! I win, Jak.
Errol has forever slept himself. Or has he? The entire Crimson Guard is now on our tail, but because we won the race, we are still granted admission to the Baron's palace, which begs the question of why the Baron would tolerate this. Perhaps it's a trap? We can easily lose the guards, and while we're on our way to the palace, I'd like to discuss the music in this game. Jak 2 has dynamic music that changes based on what is happening in the game. When Jak draws a weapon, the music grows more intense, and it becomes even more intense during combat. Even getting inside a vehicle changes the tempo. In terms of the music itself, I am not a fan. While the compositions and the cutscenes are properly suited to what is happening, none of them are particularly memorable. The in-game soundtrack is extremely repetitious, with few standout tracks. It makes sense because many of the missions take place within the city and have similar soundscapes, but it doesn't really help any of the music stand out. This is not a soundtrack that I would listen to outside of the game.
I shouldn't have trusted you.
Back where we started, huh?
Don't play with me. All along you've been trying to undermine our war with the metalheads. Whose side are you on?
Listen, Ashlyn, your father's planning something terrible. And if
My father can destroy the metalhead armies once and for all.
If he cracks open the precursor stone, the explosion will kill all of us. Don't you get it?
That's right. Not so hard, huh? Even I can figure this one out.
Don't you move. Vin, come in.
What? I've got my hands full here, you know?
You know all about the precursor stone myth, right?
Sure. I did my economic energy doctorate on pre-Turian theoretical physics. Why?
What would happen if the precursor stone were to be, say, violently cracked open?
Great. As if I didn't have enough to keep me awake at night, you give me one more thing to dread, and thank you very much. If someone actually had the stone, according to my calculations, a runaway eco research and cracking open would theoretically destroy everything.
Everything?
All things. Every single thing. Now, if you don't mind, I'm gonna go throw up. Bye-bye.
Trust me, Ashlyn. We have to stop him.
I'll try to find out more. But right now, my father is meeting crew at a secret weapons factory near the dig. Here, that's my top-level security pass. It'll get you into the factory, but it won't get you back out. We never had this conversation.
During the Metalhead Wars, Baron Practice created the Dark Warrior program, which required the capture of innocent civilians in order to undertake dark eco-experiments on them in an attempt to make them into elite fighters. This is the program that gave Jak his dark form at the start of the game. The Baron eventually declared the Dark Warrior program a failure, prompting him to implement his final plan, and it is this plan that we're attempting to thwart right now. Using a piercer bomb to crack open the precursor stone should release enough energy to wipe out the entire Metalhead race once and for all. At least that's what the Baron believes. However, smashing open the stone will completely destroy everything. The Baron has contracted crew to create the piercer bomb at the weapons factory, which we must descend. Not only are weapons being developed here, but also robots. With moving conveyor belts and pools of toxic green sludge to fall into, the factory is rather hazardous to navigate. Reaching the top, we find the lump of lard himself.
I knew you were special when I first met you, Jak. And I commend you for making it this far. We've come a long way, eh?
Yeah, I'm getting real teary-eyed.
I love weapons. I love how they look, how they feel. Even how they smell.
I think you need serious help.
My favorite was the impossibly powerful weapon Ma built to blast open the metalhead nest. Poor fool died before he could use it. Ah, well. But I have a new favorite. The piercer bomb I've just completed. My masterpiece is powerful enough to crack open the precursor stone and release the untold energy inside. As soon as the Baron shows up with the stone, we'll hide it in the last shipment of Eco and deliver it to the metalhead nest. A surprise dessert, eh? Just take this gun upgrade and forget what you saw here.
Not this time, crew. I'm through being your hired gun.
Then it's war, isn't it?
Finally, we get to stick it to his disgusting fat ass. The boss fight against Crew is very straightforward. He'll spawn these little green clones of himself that we need to destroy before the real Crew will descend down so we can shoot him. Oh, and ignore these beams of yellow light, that's just the emulator freaking out. They can't actually damage you. The Peacemaker works great against him as it takes out a decent chunk of his health. There's also a guaranteed ammo drop on the side of the arena. Just rinse and repeat until his health reaches 0.
Is it too late to give my notice?
Yeah, we quit.
The city is already dead. I've sold you all out.
Jack, I think maybe we should be anywhere else just about now.
Ashley.
We're out of here.
The game is about to reach its climax, but before that, let's play some whack-a-mole. Yeah, this little minigame screamed as we ran out of time. Not because of the minigame itself, but why we have to play the minigame. Remember the time map that Kira needs for the Rift Rider? Well, we haven't heard hide nor hear of it, and we are very near the end of the game, which seems like a whoops, we forgot about this plot point, but we also running out of time decision. The reward for beating this minigame is the time map that Crew had stowed away in the machine. It's never really explained where or how Crew obtained the time map. Was it taken from the Rift Rider we came to the future with, or is it the original? I guess it doesn't really matter, but it's just another one of those things that the more you think about it, the more you hate it. As for the minigame itself, it's fairly simple. Using the face buttons and the D-pad, you need to hit the metal heads when they pop up. The gold ones are worth more points and the red ones will stun you. The goal is to earn 1500 points without missing more than 20 metal heads.
The time map! You know, Sugar Plum, if any real metalheads came to town, I'd bunk them just like I did in the game.
Daxter?
They'd be all, don't hurt me, please! And I'd be all, too late, metal monkeys! You die screaming! Know what I'm saying? Jack, I think these trophies are still working! Metalheads! Metalheads! Where's Sig when you need him?
Sig? I think Crew sent Sig on one last mission. Something about using Mars Ruby Key to open a secret door in the Underport.
Of course! Come on, Dax. We need to get to the Underport right now.
I'll take the time map to Kira.
Be careful, Angel Chicks, and your hero will return shortly.
Pete, the shield wall is down! Sabotage! Core did it! I knew metalheads would be the enemy! Oh no! Metalheads are at the door! They're breaking through! Too many of them! Jack!
With the shield wall down, the city is under siege. An elevator in one of the port's towers will carry us to an underwater area. To proceed, we must once again employ the Titan suit. Its controls are the same as before, but now we have to keep track of how much air is in the tank. It depletes quite quickly. Fortunately, there are air vents scattered about that when stood on will refill the tank. There are underwater mines that you need to avoid. Then there are these large Lovecraftian looking metalheads that are a pain in the ass to take out because of the suit's piss poor melee attack. Avoiding them is a much better option. Making it through the area, we find Sig.
Hey there, tough guy.
Get your skinny ass over here and start shooting! Man, was I set up! Crew sent me down here to open some old doors with that ruby key you found. And when I did, metalheads came streaming in from some passage outside the city walls. Just like they were waiting for me. There's one!
Crew's dead.
Yeah? Well, he's lucky, because he would not want me to catch him alive.
The metalheads must have promised Crew plenty for him to betray the whole city like this.
Let's get out of here.
It isn't much of a surprise that Crew would do something like this. Even if he did double-cross the Baron, he is still a fat bastard. This section is quite tricky, once again because of the lack of checkpoints. There are small block pushing puzzles to get through, but they aren't the issue. The issue is this bloody thing. This is made difficult by the camera perspective. With the camera so far back, it's difficult to judge the distance you need to jump. There are 2 segments to get through and has to be done in one go. After many attempts, we make it to the end and... Oh. Back on the surface, we meet up with Kira near the stadium. We have all of the pieces needed to travel back in time, apart from the rift gate itself, which according to Samos is located within the Metalhead nest. Yay! We have our lurker buddy Bruta give us a lift with one of his balloons to get the Rift Rider to the nest. Unfortunately, they are an easy target. Therefore, we have to guard both Samoses while they load it onto the balloon. We'll need the power of the Precursor Stone, which is still in the Baron's possession, to obtain entrance to the Metalhead nest. Making our way into the construction site, we are intercepted by Core.
Core, what's going on?
I'm sure you know. Deep down in your darkest nightmares. We've met before, remember? Everything's going exactly as planned.
Jak! It's the Metalhead leader!
Now you see. Without the shield wall disrupting my powers inside the city, I am my full potential now. So for the last time, give me the Precursor Stone!
If the city must die, then we all die!
I will find that stone if I have to crush this city one brick at a time!
You are the supreme weapon, Jak. And I made you. Still, any leader worth his salt always has his backup plan. Remember, the first rule in making a bomb is to always make 2.
No, okay, I'm going in. Man, what a mess of junk in here. All jumbled coils and switches. Oh, should I unhook the blue wire? Wait a minute, are Otzel's colorblind? Let me just break a few more things and see if anything pops loose. Boom! Gotcha! Like candy from a baby.
Yes, Core was the Metalhead leader the entire time. It is hinted at quite a bit, and it also explains why he wanted to keep the little kid close. You know what I mean. Core is the Precursors and Mars' ancient enemy. We first see him at the start when he lets swarms of metalheads to pass through the Rift Gate. Because of the time travel aspect, it is unclear where and when the metalheads originate. Core led Jak to the underground and used him throughout the game to undermine the Baron's search for the Tomb of Ma and for eco supplies to trade with the metalheads in order to justify future attacks. He also learned from Daxter that Praxis intended to double-cross the metalheads. You may have noticed that when the underground was apprehended by the Crimson Guards at the tomb, Core and the kid were already gone when we arrived to rescue them. The cutscenes did an excellent job of foreshadowing who he was without revealing too much. A second playthrough definitely does alter your perspective on the plot. With Core on the verge of destroying the city, we must find a way into the Metalhead nest. With the metalheads engaged with attacking the city, the nest may have become vulnerable. We take off for the wasteland in search of a way into the nest. Shooting our way up through the wasteland, encountering a ton of metalheads along the way, including these huge ones that have lightning tethers shooting out of them. They aren't aggressive towards you, so you can just bypass them easily. Ma developed the massive weapon years ago, with the goal of using the Precursor Stone to blast through the metalhead nest, but Ma vanished before you could use it. When it comes to this gun, it feels like it was not properly set up. It makes sense in the terms of Jak 2 lore, but it's a bit unexpected when it comes to being put into the narrative. We can now push ahead into the nest where we can finally confront Core.
Finally, you've decided to join us, and you brought the Precursor Stone. Good. The boy will now play his final part.
Not this time.
Oh, But this child is such a part of this, such a part of you. Don't you recognize him? The boy is you, Jak. And this place, this is where you began, in the future.
But how?
You were hidden in the past on the hope that you would gain the skills to face me today. But Onin was wrong. Now that you've been altered with Dark Eco, the stone will never open for you. Your younger self, however, still has the pure gift. He alone can awaken the stone and the precursor entity which sleeps inside.
This stone is a precursor?
The last precursor egg. Ma was clever. He covered his tracks well through time, hiding his last egg from me and building the shield and city to defend it. It has been a long siege, but today I will finally feed on the last precursor life force.
I think you're forgetting one little thing, Metalomaniac. We've got the precursor stone.
Not for long.
Core is a gigantic metalhead who towers over the other metalheads. He has the ability to fly, hang himself from web-like beams, shoot Dark Eco, slam his body down to generate a Dark Eco shockwave, and spawn metalhead stingers from his back. Defeating Core requires a delicate balance of eliminating smaller enemies while still inflicting damage to him without becoming overwhelmed. He'll be launching Dark Eco blasts at you all the time, so keep moving. You can destroy the eggs before they hatch, which will aid with crowd control. Reducing his health by 1/3 causes him to create more powerful flying metalheads, but if you just keep moving and shooting, you should be able to take them out without too much trouble. Core will jump down onto the ground and aggressively chase and shoot at you during the final phase of the fight. He'll also send out a Dark Eco shockwave, which the emulator got an aneurysm from. Regardless of how it appears on the screen, you can just jump over it. All you have to do from there is keep shooting.
It is finished. Our ancient enemy is no more. Take hope, brave one. The terrible darkness inside you is now balanced by a glorious light. We will meet again.
We haven't much time. I've sent the coordinates back to our village. Let's go home, everyone.
But we are home.
Kira, I'm afraid your Rift Rider must be used to send young Jak here to a place where he will grow up, safe from harm. He must become old enough to complete the destiny he has fulfilled today. Wait a minute. It's you. I mean, it's me. I have to take him back and watch over him, don't I? Ah, grub roots. Talk about being in the wrong time at the right place.
Hey kid, you take care. Oh, and trust me on this. Stay away from any Wumpy nest on your 9th birthday, okay?
I sure hope I built this replica right. I don't know if it...
It's perfect, Kira. This is the very machine we found, or will find later.
What? I just built this. After seeing the first one, I mean. It's based on what I remember from before.
Honey, the more you think about it, the more it hurts the head.
I'll take good care of the child. And don't worry. I'll be back in time for the celebration. Farewell.
Thanks, Amos. Without you...
It's funny. The boy won't remember any of this.
No. I do remember the light.
Your transport is ready, milady.
Thank you, Captain Bruder. Come on. We'll be late for the party at Daxter's new place.
I've got so much work to do. Besides, it's not my thing.
Ten hut! As the new governor of this city, I ordered the commander of the New Crimson Guard to escort me to an official function. Is that understood?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
You can start rebuilding the city tomorrow. Tonight, we get to celebrate with our new friends. Besides, tough guy, I'm dying to see you dance.
Not likely.
Welcome to the Naughty Otso, the hippest, happiest joint in town. Check out the new decor.
Ooh, what a big trophy.
As if size matters. I bagged that bad boy myself, baby.
Onin says she doesn't know who has a bigger head, him or you.
We must not forget Vin and all the others who sacrificed their lives to defeat this evil and protect the child.
I still can't believe that little boy was me. Better times, huh?
You miss him, huh? You know, the kid grows up to be a handsome hero.
Hey, that's enough for you, lady. I'm cutting you off.
Trust me, she gets real mean when she's like this.
What'd she say?
Something about rubber tubing and certain parts of your mother. You don't want to know.
Ah! A metalhead!
Sig!
Sig! I knew that.
You're okay.
You cherries didn't think some nasty breath, giant-sized lizard was gonna keep me from the biggest party in town, did you?
I knew you were too tough for him, big guy.
You saved the city and more, my boy. Metalcore and his menace are history, and somewhere out there, an ancient race has begun again.
I'm just glad to be back home.
Yeah, well, rest up. We've got a lot to do, and so much time to do it in.
Don't say time. The rift ring was destroyed, remember?
You know, my mama used to read bedtime stories about Ma when she tucked me in. Give me a nice glass of warm yak cow milk, a little poopsie bear.
Bedtime stories? Warm milk? Poopsie bear? Buddy, you just blew your image.
I've got a feeling we'll meet Mars someday. He may be closer than you think.
You're the designated driver.
Oh, no. I am done with adventures. Besides, you'll tell us before something happens next time, right, Samos? Right, Samos?
You never know what the future may hold.
Wait. You know something, don't you, Feather Breath?
Who, me? No, we're just guessing, right, Samos? Hey, tomorrow, only time will tell.
No, you're gonna tell right now!
Why, you little...
Why, you... Dirty fighting! Dirty
That's
fighting!
not my beat!
Oh,
That's not my beat!
Watch your
Don't
back!
touch it!
Jack, my boy, a future awaits.
And that is the end of Jak 2. I think the story of Jak 2 is a vast improvement over the first game. It draws you into the world and makes you want to keep playing to see what happens next. This time around the villains are significantly more fascinating. The Baron is an ass, but you can see where he's coming from. He wants to destroy the metalheads just as much as we do, but his methods are severely flawed, not to add to the fact that his motives aren't exactly pure. Core is an excellent final boss, and the story incorporates subtle hints as to his true goals. Errol is perhaps the weakest of the villains. He's basically a jerk with a deep hatred for Jak. He is envious of Jak and Kira's relationship, yet it is a flimsy justification for some of his actions. And the highlight, or perhaps the lowlight of the villains, has to be Crude. Even when he has given you all of this equipment and upgrades, you still can't help but hate the guy. He's just so disgusting and sleazy. Both the returning and new supporting cast members are excellent. I'm not a fan of the love triangle cliche they use for Jak and Kira's romance, however it did allow Daxter to have some of the best lines in the game, so I ended up enjoying it quite a bit. Time travel narratives are notoriously difficult to do right, however I believe they did a good job with this one. It's not to suggest that they aren't some things that don't make sense when you think about them. For example, if Kira is Samus's daughter, why doesn't she travel back in time with them? She should have been born by now, as she is only a year younger than Jak. She is never stated to be his biological daughter, so she could just be adopted. But this sort of stuff really doesn't matter when it comes to the grand scheme of things, as the whole storyline is very paradoxical. It doesn't focus too hard on the time travel aspects, and it's more focused on the characters' interactions. It's just interesting to consider that Jak 2 occurs both before and after Jak 1. Despite some of the story feeling rushed, overall I loved it, and in my opinion this is the strongest in the series. Jak 2 was a significant divergence from its predecessor. It keeps its excellent platforming mechanics but places less emphasis on them. Instead it chooses to spice up the gameplay with shooting and vehicle elements. Whether you enjoy these added changes is subjective, but for me personally I would have preferred if they focused more on the platforming aspects rather than the shooting and vehicle aspects. When I was younger, I kind of held a bit of a grudge against this entry, thinking that it was too hard. I'd want to play through the trilogy, but I'd almost always give up on 2 halfway through, or skip it entirely and move on to Jak 3. The difficulty was a huge hurdle for me when I was a kid. taking me weeks to get past certain sections. Replaying this game today, however, I found the difficulty to be about perfect. Although there were a couple of sections that still gave me a bit of trouble, overall the challenge paired with the excellent controls was an absolute joy to play through. Jak 2 has a great story and great gameplay. It's just a great game, but can Jak 3 stick the landing for this trilogy?